He didn't have a name, no CT number, no painted helmet, no squad markings. Somewhere in the early battles of the Clone Wars, a chaos of laser fire and clanking B-1 battle droids on a bombed-out stretch of ground, one clone trooper in unmarked Phase 1 armor ran out of options. Maybe he ran out of ammo. Maybe he ran out of patience. Either way, he did the most absurd, most human thing a soldier has ever done in a galaxy far, far away. He charged a battle droid and punched it. The droid shot him dead. Took maybe 3 seconds of screen time. No slow motion, no dramatic music swell, no lingering close-up on his visor. He swung, he dropped, the battle kept going. Nobody on screen paused. The camera didn't care. But you cared, didn't you? The fan community adopted this clone like a stray dog with a heart of gold. Reddit threads on r/PrequelMemes and r/CloneWarsMemes gave him names. Punchy, CT Chad, the bravest clone. And here's what gets me about the way people talk about him. The captions are never fully ironic and never fully serious. They exist in that perfect space where a joke and a tribute are the same thing. Because a man punching a robot in a gunfight is objectively ridiculous. And a man choosing to go forward when going forward means dying is genuinely, quietly brave. He never spoke a word, never got a death scene, never made anyone's top 10 list, but you remember him, which tells you something about why you clicked on this video and what we're actually here to do. See, every other video about clone trooper deaths talks about these soldiers, narrates over them, summarizes their sacrifice in the third person like a textbook entry, and every single time, the comment section fills up with the same thing. Fans posting the actual quotes, the actual last words, doing the video's job for it because the video wouldn't do it itself. 38% of the comments on one major clone death video existed solely to supply the words the narrator left out. 303 replies on a single F to pay respects chain. That's not engagement. That's a funeral the audience built because nobody else would. So this isn't a countdown. There are no rankings here. This is a memorial. And in a memorial, you let the dead speak for themselves. Before any of them do, though, you need to hear the line that makes all of it mean something. October 3rd, 2008. Season 1, Episode 2 of the Clone Wars. Rising Malevolence. Jedi Master Plo Koon, Keldor, face mask, breathing apparatus, the kind of quiet authority that doesn't need volume, is stranded in a wrecked escape pod. His fleet has been obliterated by the separatist warship Malevolence, a massive ion cannon cruiser under General Grievous. The Jedi Council has ordered Anakin Skywalker not to attempt a rescue. Inside the pod, running low on oxygen, surrounded by debris and pod hunter droids methodically picking off survivors, are 3 clone troopers from the 104th Battalion's Wolf Pack. Commander Wolf, CC 3636, Sergeant Sinker, and Boost. One of them says it, the line that makes the reply possible. "We're just clones, sir. We're meant to be expendable." And Plo Koon, without hesitation, without a speech, without raising his voice even slightly, says, "Not to me." 3 words, that's it. He doesn't argue tactics or asset preservation or strategic value. He doesn't say they're useful. He says they're valued. By him. Personally. In a galaxy that engineered these men to be identical, interchangeable, and disposable, one Jedi looked at 3 soldiers in matching armor and saw 3 men. Fans have tattooed this line on their bodies. They've posted it in comment sections for 15 years running. 66 distinct engagement signals on a single video's comment section. Likes, replies, requotes, all orbiting those 3 words. It stopped being a quote a long time ago. It's a creed. Hold on to it. You're going to need it. To understand the deaths that hit hardest, you have to start where the bonds were forged. Kamino, ocean planet, cloning facility. Season 3, Episode 1, Clone Cadets, September 17th, 2010. 5 cadets in a training squad designated Domino, CT 275555, who'd become 5s. CT-1409, who'd become Echo, CT-782, who'd become Heavy, then cut-up and droid bait. By every measurable standard, they were failures. Couldn't work together. Failed simulations. Were on the verge of being reassigned to maintenance duty, which, in clone terms, meant being told you weren't good enough to die for the Republic. The person who believed in them was a janitor. Clone 99 was malformed, hunched back, a limp, a body aged far beyond its actual years by genetic defects in the cloning process. He was never deployed, never given armor, a weapon, or an assignment that wasn't sweeping floors and organizing gear in the barracks while his brothers shipped off to war. He watched thousands of them leave, knowing he'd never follow. He collected the graduated cadet medals they left behind, discards to them, treasures to him. Heavy gave him one before Domino Squad shipped out, not as a throwaway gesture, as a recognition, brother to brother. That medal mattered. Remember it. Domino's first real deployment was the Rishi Moon Listening Outpost, Season 1, Episode 5, Rookies, October 24th, 2008. Separatist commando droids overwhelmed the station. It was a slaughter. Cut-up was killed by a Rishi eel almost immediately. Droid bait was shot in the opening seconds of the assault. 3 Dominos left. Captain Rex and Commander Cody had arrived for a routine inspection and found themselves in the middle of a fight no rookie was ready for. Heavy stayed behind. The remote detonator failed, and someone had to trigger the explosion manually to destroy the base and alert the Republic fleet to the incoming invasion of Kamino. CT-782, the loudest, most aggressive member of a squad of supposed failures, didn't hesitate. He detonated the outpost, took the droids with him, saved the planet where every clone was born. His last words? I'm going to let you carry those into the comments yourselves. Some of you already know them. You've been posting them for years. Fives and Echo walked out of Rishi Moon as the only Domino survivors. 2 out of 5. They earned ARC Trooper status, the elite designation within the clone ranks. Their bond wasn't just friendship. It was the shared weight of being the ones who lived. 3 brothers dead behind them, and a war stretching out ahead. Then the Citadel happened, Season 3. Echo was part of a mission to rescue Jedi Master Even Peel from a separatist prison. An explosion hit. Echo was caught in the blast, seemingly killed. Fives watched it happen. Another Domino gone, the last one besides himself. And Fives carried that. Carried being the only surviving member of a 5-man squad that started the war together on Kamino's rain-slicked training grounds. He didn't know Echo survived, captured by the separatists, turned into a cyborg, his body integrated into a machine, used as a living tactical computer to feed Republic strategy to the enemy. Echo would eventually be rescued in Season 7 by Clone Force 99, the Bad Batch. But that rescue came too late for the one person who would have torn the galaxy apart to find him. Fives died, never knowing his brother was alive. Echo lived knowing Fives died without him there. Hold that. We'll come back to it. The war came to Kamino. Season 3, Episode 2. ARC Troopers. September 17th, 2010. Grievous and Ventress launched a full assault on the cloning facilities, the factory that built every soldier in the Republic's army. N99, who was not assigned to fight, not given a weapon, not given orders, gave them to himself. He ran ammunition through active firefights, limping, slow, completely exposed. He carried blaster packs to the soldiers who needed them, running alongside Fives and Echo, the Domino survivors who fought beside him without a second thought. Rex was there. Cody was there. For a few minutes, in the corridors of Topoka City, 99 was what he'd always wanted to be. Not a janitor, not a defect. A soldier standing with his brothers. Battle droids gunned him down in the open while he was reaching for more ammo. Couldn't make it to cover. His brothers gathered around him, and 99, D. Bradley Baker stripping every ounce of performance down to something gentle, almost whispered, said, "I'm a soldier, like you." Nobody argued with him. Nobody said, "You were more than that," or "You didn't have to." They grieved him as exactly what he claimed to be: a soldier, a brother, a man who was expendable squared, a clone considered defective even by the standards of a system that already considered every clone disposable. Not to them, though. Not to you, either. Because you're still thinking about him right now. Some deaths aren't about last words. Some are about last stands. On Ryloth, the same planet where Waxer and Boyle would find a Twi'lek girl named Numa, Captain Keeley and Jedi General Imagoon D held a position so that Twi'lek refugees could escape. Season 3, Episode 3, Supply Lines. They knew they weren't coming back. The Republic hadn't sent reinforcements. The Separatist line was closing, and two men, one Jedi, one clone, stood in the gap because someone had to. Keeley went down fighting beside his general. No extraction, no rescue. Just a hill and a choice. Commander Thorne made a similar choice. Season 6, Episode 7, Coruscant Guard. When commando droids overwhelmed his position, Thorne didn't fall back. He picked up a fallen rotary cannon, planted his feet, and held the line until the line was him. His last words, you already know them if you're the kind of person watching this video, and if you don't, someone in the comments is about to give them to you. These are the deaths that never made the highlight reels, but the fans remembered anyway. Now, Umbara, 4 episodes, Season 4. Late October, early November 2011. Darkness on Umbara, the General, Plan of Descent, Carnage of Krell. A shadow planet of perpetual twilight, bioluminescent forests, and a Jedi General named Pong Krell who treated clone lives the way you'd treat ammunition, something you burn through to get results. The 501st was deployed under his command after Anakin was recalled to Coruscant. Krell's tactics were suicidal by design. He sent clones into kill zones, refused battlefield intelligence, dismissed casualties as acceptable arithmetic. Hardcase was there, the heavy weapons guy. Manic energy, rotary cannon, a grin that wouldn't quit. He was the loudest clone in every room, the one who sprayed blaster fire with visible joy, the squad's wild card, comic relief with a trigger finger. You'd have called him reckless if you didn't love him so much. In Plan of Descent, Fives, Jesse, and Hardcase went rogue, stole Umbaran starfighters they didn't know how to fly, and attacked a separatist supply ship against Krell's direct orders. The plan worked. Barely. They reached the ship, but the detonation couldn't be triggered remotely. Someone had to stay. Hardcase didn't debate it. The loudest man in the 500 first made the quietest decision of his life. And Baker, who'd spent every Hardcase scene dialed to 11, brought the voice all the way down, stripped the bravado clean off, left only this. Live to fight another day, boys. Live to fight another day. Then he triggered the munitions. Gone. The wild man found his stillness at the end, and the line works because he earned it, not through tragedy, but through joy. Hardcase was the guy who made the war bearable. His exit made it unbearable. Umbara wasn't done taking. Carnage of Krell. Krell had secretly turned to the dark side, was angling to become Count Dooku's apprentice, and engineered the worst thing a clone could imagine. He sent the 501st and the 212th Attack Battalion on converging patrol routes through Umbara's dense forests with falsified intelligence. Each unit was told they were pursuing disguised Umbaran fighters. They weren't. They were marching toward each other. Clones opened fire on clones. Waxer, 212th Attack Battalion, a face fans had known since the Ryloth arc in Season 1, took bolts from his own brothers. Troopers of the 501st, who believed they were shooting the enemy. Waxer had been part of the series since he and his partner Boyle found Numa, the Twi'lek orphan, on Ryloth. She called them Nera, brother. Waxer painted her face on his helmet after that, carried her into every battle. Numa was still on his helmet when he died on Umbara, killed by brothers who loved him, on orders from a Jedi who'd abandoned everything. And Waxer, bleeding out in the dirt, didn't use his last breath for himself. He told Rex the truth. That Krell had given them the coordinates, that they'd been set up. Even dying, he was filing a report. Even dying, still trying to save them. Fans demanded his inclusion in clone death tributes for years. The videos kept leaving him out. And they were wrong to, because Waxer's death isn't just a tragedy. It's a prophecy. Clones killing clones under false orders from a corrupt authority figure. That's not Umbara foreshadowing something distant and hypothetical. That's Order 66, 3 years early. Which brings us to the man who tried to stop it. But first, the man who started unraveling it without meaning to. Tup. CT-5385. A trooper in the 501st whose inhibitor chip malfunctioned early, causing him to murder Jedi General Tiplar mid-battle in a fugue state. He didn't know why he'd done it. Couldn't explain it. Spent his final days on Kamino being examined, tested, and lied to by the Kaminoans who built him. His chip was removed. It was too late. Before he died, Tup said something that would haunt everything that followed. The mission. The nightmare. I'm free. Remember those words. They're going to echo. CT-275555. ARC Trooper 5s. Last surviving member of Domino Squad. Or so he believed. Season 6, The Lost Missions, released March 7th, 2014 on Netflix after Cartoon Network canceled the show. 4 episodes. The Unknown, Conspiracy, Fugitive, Orders. Fives wouldn't accept the Kaminoans' explanation for Tup's breakdown. He dug deeper, removed his own chip, and found the truth buried inside it. Every clone had been implanted with an organic biochip during gestation, officially described as an aggression suppressor. Its real function was a pre-programmed kill command, Order 66, the systematic extermination of the Jedi, hardwired into the skull of every soldier in the Republic's army. Fives tried to warn everyone. He got an audience with Chancellor Palpatine, who is Darth Sidious, who is the architect of the entire conspiracy, and was framed for an assassination attempt. Drugged, discredited, hunted by the very army he was trying to save. He contacted Rex, arranged a meeting on level 1315 of Coruscant. When Rex arrived with Anakin, Fives was erratic, desperate, barely coherent, ranting about chips and conspiracies and a plot to destroy the Jedi. He sounded insane. He was completely, devastatingly right about everything. Commander Fox shot him. Fives dropped. Rex caught him. And here, the last Domino, the man who uncovered the truth that could have saved the entire Jedi Order, who nobody believed because the lie was too massive and the clone was too small, said, "The mission, the nightmares, they're finally over." Listen to those words against Tup's. The mission, the nightmare, I'm free. 2 brothers, 2 deaths, almost the same sentence. Tup's chip broke him. Fives chose to remove his. Both arrived at the same place, released, finally, from a war that was rigged against them from the day they were decanted on Kamino. The difference is that Fives knew what he was being freed from, and nobody around him understood what he'd found until it was far too late. Rex held him when he died. Rex, who would carry Fives' warning like a splinter in his brain for months. Through battles, through briefings, through the quiet hours when a dead brother's ranting started to sound less like madness and more like a message. And then Order 66 came. Revenge of the Sith. 2005 on the movie screen. May 4th, 2020, in the Clone Wars finale that ran parallel to it. The moment Palpatine transmitted the order, every clone in the galaxy turned. Not because they chose to, because the chips Fives had tried to warn everyone about activated simultaneously, overriding loyalty, friendship, brotherhood, everything these men had built across 7 seasons and a war, with 3 words: good soldiers follow orders. On Cato Nemoidia, Clone pilots, pilots from the 104th Battalion, the Wolf Pack, fired on a Jedi starfighter. It spiraled. It crashed. Plo Koon, the man who said, "Not to me," killed by the men he'd said it about. He never got final words. No last line. No closing monologue. Just fire and silence. The Jedi who told clones they were worth saving was shot down by clones who could no longer remember that he had. On Felucia, clone troopers shot Ayla Secura in the back. On Megiddo, they turned their guns on Ki-Adi-Mundi. Across 1,000 worlds, on 1,000 battlefields, the men who had names and painted helmets and inside jokes and brothers became exactly what the Republic always designed them to be: weapons. Not all of them. Rex survived. Five's warning, the ranting of a dead man, gave Ahsoka Tano just enough information to save one clone. She helped Rex remove his chip aboard a Venator-class Star Destroyer, while every other trooper on board hunted them through the corridors, including Jesse. CT-5597, ARC Trooper, 501st Legion. He'd been there through Umbara, through the worst of the war, through everything. A brother who'd fought beside Fives and Hardcase, who'd defied Krell, who'd survived things that should have killed him 10 times over. When Order 66 activated, Jesse hunted Ahsoka and Rex with the same training he'd once used to fight beside them. Not because he chose to, because a chip in his brain chose for him. The good soldier following orders that were never really his. Rex tried to reach him, tried to call back the man underneath the programming, and Jesse, or whatever was left of Jesse, couldn't hear him. The Venator crashed. Ahsoka and Rex survived. Jesse didn't. None of the clones aboard did. What happened next is the quietest, most devastating sequence in the entire series. Ahsoka and Rex buried them. Not a military funeral, not a ceremony with flags and speeches. They dug graves by hand in the snow, left helmets on sticks as markers, row after row of identical helmets for men who hadn't been identical at all, who'd had names and voices and lives that mattered, right up until the moment a signal turned them into something else. If you've seen that final shot, a former Jedi and a freed clone standing over rows of makeshift headstones, surrounded by the wreckage of a ship that became a coffin, you already know why Jesse's death belongs in this memorial. Not because of his last words, because of what his silence represents. I want to talk about why any of this works, just for a moment. Dave Filoni created The Clone Wars, ran it for 7 seasons, from that 2008 theatrical premiere through the Disney Plus finale on May 4th, 2020, working alongside George Lucas from the very beginning. And Filoni made a decision that sounds simple, but changed everything. He decided that clones were characters, not set dressing, not cannon fodder, not a convenient army that saved writers from having to populate battle scenes with people who mattered. He gave them names, painted helmets, inside jokes, fears, friendships, and deaths that cost the audience something real. That's craft. That's deliberate. Every one of these moments we just walked through exists because one showrunner refused to treat identical soldiers as interchangeable, even when the fictional universe they inhabited was designed to do exactly that. And D. Bradley Baker voiced every single one of them. Let that sit for a second. Every clone. Rex, Fives, 99, Hardcase, Waxer, Jesse, Wolf, Cody, Echo, Tup, Heavy. Hundreds of genetically identical men made distinct by one actor shifting his cadence, his pitch, his breath, his emotional register by fractions. When 99 whispers that he's a soldier, it sounds nothing like when Hardcase tells the boys to live and fight. Same vocal cords, same recording booth, different souls. Baker made an audience grieve dozens of separate people who are, technically, biologically, the same person. That isn't voice acting. That's something closer to a miracle, performed over and over for 12 years. And it is the reason these quotes sound different in your head, even though they came from the same man. So here's where we are. These soldiers were engineered to be expendable. Bred on Kamino, deployed in the millions, used as instruments of a war they didn't start for a republic that didn't ask their permission, and ultimately discarded as weapons of a genocide they never would have chosen. The system that made them didn't value them. The government they served didn't value them. The war they died in didn't even belong to them. It was manufactured, start to finish, by a Sith Lord who needed them as tools. First of war, then of extermination. But Filoni valued them enough to give them voices worth quoting at the moment of death. Baker valued them enough to make every voice different. And you valued them enough to click on a video with a clone trooper in the title, knowing exactly what you were going to feel, and choosing to feel it anyway. Not expendable. Not to me. Not to you either. There are names I didn't say today. Quotes I didn't speak. Some of you know exactly which ones. You've been carrying those words in your heads since the first time you heard them, and you've been posting them in comment sections for years, keeping the memorial going long after the credits rolled. That's not just fandom. That's something more. So go ahead. The comments are open. Finish the memorial. They were your brothers too. Subscribe for more stories like this.